That's great. Fab. Well, thank you, everybody. Really great to have you here today for our Helping People Become More Active physical activity awareness training. My name's Ruth Hards and I work at Active Surrey in the health team. And some of you may know about Active Surrey, others of you might not. So I'll just kind of give you a quick overview about who we are and what we do. So we're one of 43 active partnerships in England, and we're a network of locally led non-profit strategic organisations. And we really are here to connect people and organisations to help increase physical activity levels. And we do this in a number of different ways. So we have 4 teams at Active Surrey, and we're hosted by Surrey County Council, and we work to support children and young people. So we are actually commissioned to deliver oh, sorry, Izzy, we've gone on.
Yes, sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry.
So yes, so we support children and young people. We go into schools to help increase active opportunities in schools. We run the Surrey Youth Games, and we also are commissioned to deliver Club 4, which is the half camps for children accessing free school meals, the holiday camps. So in the health team, we deliver training like today. So we upskill professionals and volunteers around physical activity and how to have those conversations. We also work within clinical pathways. We work with primary care networks around increasing physical activity opportunities with staff and patients. And again, we're commissioned to deliver Be Your Best, which is a weight management programme for children and teenagers from 5 to 17. We're really active in communities as well. So we have community champions, especially supporting kind of ethnically diverse communities and parts of the population where they're suffering from higher health inequalities. We run Friday night projects, which are all about connecting teenagers and leisure centres to provide safe spaces for people to socialise and have access to a youth worker. And we also work really hard in terms of getting more women into coaching. And then we are involved in active travel as well. So again, we work across lots of different areas. And if you'd like to find out more, then I'll share my details at the end, and it'd be great to hear from you. So I'm going to hand you over to Isabel in a moment, who's going to be delivering the training. Like I say, we do want this to be an interactive session. We'll be sharing all the slides at the end, so please don't worry about frantically scribbling notes. But yeah, like I say, please do interact with us on the chat. We'll be having some polls. Please do feel free to stand up, have a walk around, pop us on and go out for a walk while you're listening to the training, if that's what you'd like to do. But yeah, I'll like I said, hand you over to Izzy, and yeah, we'll be about 75 minutes with the training with some time for questions at the end. So over to you, Izzy.
Hello, everyone. Hi, I'm Izzy Farr, and I'm helping Active Surrey today to deliver this wonderful presentation about all the benefits that we probably know about being physically active, but more that we'll pick up. So I'm also someone who's worked for a PCN in the role of a health and wellbeing coach and social prescriber. So I have interacted, with folk in my previous role as to, what the benefits of this is. And I understand some of the barriers that we may come across when we're trying to introduce this into the lives for the benefit of the health of the people that we're, coming across in our roles. So that's about me slightly. So this is what we're going to be covering today. We're going to just touch on the definitions of what being physically active is, and of course the benefits, what the national guidelines are. So many of us will probably know this, but it's a nice refresher to understand what those guidelines are and what they really mean. Practical tips and common barriers, the positive conversation skills, and signposting and resources, the key important bits as to where we signpost and guide people to, including ourselves. So before we crack on, I'm going to ask everyone to hit their buzzers, please, fastest fingers to the buttons. 2 quick questions. On a scale of 1 to 10 now, how important is it having conversations about being active with others to you? And on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you currently in having these conversations about being more active with others? So when you're ready, fingers to the poll. Just wait for Ruth to gather all that information.
Okay. Great, I'll just wait a couple more minutes. So there is a second, if you scroll down, there's actually a second question asking about your confidence levels as well. So, but I think if some people have submitted the poll, they might not be able to
go back
and do that. So if people are okay, I'm just going to end the poll and relaunch it if that's okay, so we can make sure that we get everyone's answers to both the questions. I will just do that now. Let me just relaunch it. Thank you. So sorry that you've got to redo that again. So yes, there's the question 1, and then if you scroll down, there's question 2 underneath about your confidence.
Oh, yeah, I can see
Great.
question 2 being answered. Lovely.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you. Okay, I'll just give it a couple more seconds. Okay, we've got 7 people now. Great, so I'll end the poll and share the results with you. So you can see we've got quite a mix here. Brilliant, actually, how important everybody feels having the conversation around being active is. So we go from 7 up to 10. And then the second question around the confidence levels range anywhere from 3 up to 8. So we'll be working hard in the next hour to hopefully increase those scores by the end when we ask the questions again.
Yes, but you know, good start. I'm impressed. Right, so let's begin. Let's get some knowledge in and some tools to help others as well as ourselves if we're not doing enough. So I just want to talk about this amazing chap, Samir Gray, very quickly. He is one of the UK's leading medical figures, and he was knighted in 2005 for his services to the NHS. He is all about optimal aging. And by that, it's all about living longer, better, and being independent as we age. So he's done lots of research and his experience, and he puts his money where his mouth is because he's physically active. So over the last 50 years, he's developed a new model to help people live longer, better. And this is really important for our population aging and you know the growing proportion of people who are aged over 65. So for the first time in decades, both life expectancy and healthy life expectancy, which is obviously the period of the time that people live independent and in good health and free from disease, is unfortunately declining. And this is also putting an immense pressure onto the NHS. So fundamentally, he talks about the 2 phases in life: the growing phase and our development, and also critically, the turning point, which is what this graph is. So the turning point for most of us of where we lose our sort of fitness, if you like, is our first job, where we get to sit down for hours on end and we're in the office, not moving about as much. Well, back in the days, if we were working in the office, it's all changed, but still at home. So his message is, first off, no matter when you start being physically active, that is going to have a greater impact on our bodies long term. But even if we haven't done something for years and years, he's saying you can start it at any age, 50, 60, 70, and you will still reap the rewards of either managing a condition that you exist with, call it type 2 diabetes, for example, or, you know, sort of reversing it and making it better, like type 2, which is reversible. So it's all about, you know, engaging in forms of physical activity, whatever they are. And you can watch more about what he says because he's actually much more articulate than I am delivering what he feels and means. And there's a YouTube link on the slide. Ruth, you're going to share this all out later so people can, it's 8 minutes, that video. It's really worth watching, if anything, for yourself so that you can invest to be the best, to pass it on to others. There'll be more of these little corny lines coming out of me later as we progress through this. So how's everyone feeling today? I can't see you all, apart. I did see the lovely tan earlier. And I mean, that lady's disappeared. What was her name, Ruth? I'm sorry.
Karen.
Karen's lovely tan. I saw that earlier, and that's all I can see. So this is something called the Flamingo test. Amazing test. I use it in my sessions when I get new groups of people taking part in my physical activity courses that I run for 12 weeks, twice a week, out here in Ashstead in Surrey. But they also do this at ENT, and it's a really good indicator about the benefits of our brain health, or determining what our brain health is. So, oh, someone's got their mic on. That'd be great. we could switch that. Great, it's turned off. So by standing on one leg, you can have this predictor of how you will remain in good health as you age, because balance is one of the most unsung physical skills that we tend to take for granted. But then if we put ourselves to the test, we then learn that actually we can practice a lot more and increase our balance skills. This was developed, this flamingo test, at the Kyoto University in Japan. And, men and women aged in the region of 67 were asked to stand on one leg with their eyes open and to keep their balance for average of 20 seconds. This gave a sound measurement of brain health, and more than 30% of the subjects had trouble balancing for this length of time, and they were either found to have some small blood vessel disease or tiny hemorrhages, or both, putting them at higher risk of strokes and dementia. So there is more behind this. Again, you can find this research quite easily online about the flamingo test and Kyoto University. But what I'd like us all to do, listen, I've done mine today, so I guess what I'm saying is what I'd like you all to do, and I can't see you, so no cheating. I'm going to ask you all to stand, because we shouldn't sit for too long, loss of fitness. And I'm going to ask you to do the flamingo test. Ruth, you've got a timer there, I'm assuming.
I have, yeah. So yeah, sorry, Isabel, I'll let you carry on. I
was just going to say, here on the screen now is the age range and the number of seconds that one should be able to do. So we're going to do it for a little bit. You all know your age ranges, and those are the seconds that you need to be able to stand and balance. So in 3, 2, 1, go.
So I'll let you know as we count up through the time. So we're coming up to 5 seconds now. We'll just go up to 45 seconds.
Brilliant. Okay. You're not cheating, are you, Ruth?
No, not this time.
Great. Got your leg up. I can't see anyone else. So I'm assuming you're all doing it, because this is for your brain health. Good indicator of where we are in 13 years' time, so they say from the study.
We're coming up for 25 seconds now. Anybody
who's up on 25 seconds, well done. The rest of you, don't panic. There's lots of tricks to improve this.
Okay. 35.
Lovely. Nearly there.
Remember 40.
40.
And at 45 seconds.
Fantastic. It'd be really good if you were all truthful and put your seconds in the chat. So just put your age and the seconds, or rather just put the seconds in and just say, I made it or I didn't. For those of you who didn't make it, that's fine. Practice makes perfect. And you will be able to do this every day and benefit from it every day. So you just need to stand whilst you're boiling the kettle, stand on one leg, put the timer on, see if you can beat it from yesterday. Brushing your teeth, stand on one leg. I do this every day. I mean, the real true test is about having your eyes closed. So don't do this just by standing, on your own without support. Do it against a wall to start with, or in between, sort of standing at the worktop, because with the eyes closed, that really is a true indicator of your brain strength and health. And it's, again, all of this comes with practice. You won't be able to do it straight away necessarily, but you will be able to do it if you practice every day. Did people put stuff in the chat, Ruth? Because I can't see.
Yeah, and had some great results. So yeah, everybody kind of was able to kind of reach their target by age range, which was great.
Fantastic. Well, we can end this presentation now, because they're all so fit and they all know. So that's brilliant. Well done, everyone that did that. So what is physical activity? Well, we've all got some form of what that is in our mind, but actually what we really should embrace is every movement counts. And this terminology is all embracing. It doesn't necessarily mean exercise, to which some people shun from, and I get it, but it's all about, how we live actively on a daily basis and what a difference that makes to our overall well-being, both physically and mentally. So physical activity, it is, as I've just touched on, the take-home message to anybody, including ourselves. It's about active living, not just for a short period of time, but forever, so that we optimally age and we do that independently and we age independently so that we don't have to rely on others, you know, to support us as we get older. But you know, that investment starts now for all of us. So the take-home message from this is, you know, we used to be able to travel to work, more so sort of taking the bus, the train, walking. That probably isn't as much now because so many people are working from home. But, you know, we've circled active living because there's lots of things we can do, including the chores at home, you know, even getting down on our hands and knees and sort of wiping the floor, that circular motion on all fours, like, you know, they used to do in the good old days with the scrubber. That is active living. That's some form of exercise, and that gets us moving if we're able to do that. You know, hoovering, dusting, they're all the things that keep the body moving and not just being sedentary. So the terminology is really important here to start engagement. So there are different intensities. Moderate's the one that's been circled. So, you know, what does that mean? What does moderate exercise or physically being physically active or daily active mean? It just means anything that gets the heart beating and that you're feeling warmer and slightly out of breath. So the talk test is a good way of gauging, and that's by, are you still able to talk if you're sort of pushing yourself a bit more moderately? So everyone's different in terms of what their moderate is. Someone's fast walk may be moderate for someone else, and you know, it might be quite vigorous for someone else. So I know, like at 5'2", walking next to the gorgeous model-esque Ruth, who's 6'1", right, that I'm working at a very vigorous pace to keep up with her. Very, you know, I'm breaking a sweat because her pace, you know, with her long legs. So it does vary, but that's what it means. Moderate means increased heart rate and feeling slightly warmer. And we want people to realize that the increased heart rate is really where we make the difference to being, you know, beneficial in terms of what we're doing. So if it's a bit like a car, really, if you don't rev the engine, call that the heart, then, you know, it sits quietly, and then when you do go to turn it, it doesn't have that va-va-voom. So you kind of need to keep that engine ticking over, and that means hitting the rev a little bit more, sort of the speed, if you like. So how active are we? Well, at the moment, unfortunately, nearly a third of people spend, wait for it, that's not a shock really, we know this, 6 hours of sitting every day. And that's even longer on the weekends. We got things like Netflix, Prime, lots of things that keep us sitting for longer and binge watching all those amazing series that come out. So 1 in 5 men and 1 in 4 women are classed as physically inactive. And we're going into a bit more detail about that later on, but there are many reasons behind this. So it's not a new problem. So car ownership, reduced manual jobs, touched on it, home entertainment. This all means that we've got less active lives than the previous generations, and it's worse for more specific groups. The main groups facing inequalities are the low socioeconomic groups, ethnic minorities, disabilities, and the long-term health conditions. So, for example, people with LTCs, long-term health conditions, are twice as likely to be inactive than those without. So 1 in 4 people have an LTC in the UK. But also older adults and adults, you know, with mental health, learning disabilities, they all face additional barriers to being active. And we've got local data, and we can see the situation for areas in Surrey and nationally, which will, as I say, we'll get into a bit later. But overall, the pandemic at that point made things worse for these inequalities. And, you know, we're still sort of trying to come out of that and get out of that sort of sitting phase, which really is the equivalent of the new smoking. Sitting for hours is just as bad. However, on the upshot, there is great news. So it's not all doom and gloom, because overall people do want to be more active, and being active is within people's control to change. It's all about making those small changes to the day, moving more, not running marathons or going to an expensive gym, but being active can be free or low cost. But people, they just need that form of encouragement. They need to know that you're selling something that you're immersed in. So it's important that if you're not doing something yourselves, that you change that and become much more immersive in being physically active on a daily basis, because then you can promote it more, the benefits, because you're doing it. So during the pandemic, Sport England surveys showed that nearly 7 in 10 people felt it was really important to be active regularly. And that was due to the prominence given by the CMO, the Chief Medical Officer, or because it was one of the only reasons we were practically allowed to go outside. But still, people understand and they want to engage. So what are the physical activity levels in Surrey? So this is a breakdown of adults' activity levels across Surrey from Sport England, which is brand new data received in April this year, Active Lives Adult Survey, April 2024, for ages 16 plus. So nearly 70% of all adults, that's 679,000 people, are achieving the guidelines, Go Surrey, which is ahead of the national averages of 64%. However, the combination of the orange and the grey bars show that overall 303,000 adults in Surrey are not doing enough physical activity each week, with nearly 200,000 of those doing less than 30 minutes per week. So this is all available again on the Active Surrey website, but Ruth is going to send this out again at the end of our session today. So these are the levels what are the physical activity levels in Surrey? So we can see it's broken down by areas in Surrey. I mean, Spelthorne, just highlighting this, has got one of the highest percentages of inactive Surreys and the highest percentage of adults who are not active enough overall in Surrey at 43%. So these are the 11 local authorities. And as I said on the previous slide, 31% of the adults in Surrey are just not active. Elmbridge and Epsom have the highest levels of activity of adults in the county. And over the last 12 months, Epsom and Ewell has seen a huge increase in active adults. I have to laugh here, Ruth, because I used to be Epsom and Ewell PCN and as their health and wellbeing coach. So I'd like to take some responsibility over the last 2 years. Not narcissist at all, but you know, good news.
I think, yeah, and I think, you know, and the increases in activity seen in Epsom Newell, it's the second biggest increase across the whole of the country. So it just does show that, yeah, that real impact can be made. So
it certainly can. And just having those small conversations with everybody on a regular basis. So if you are in a social prescribing role, or if you're age concern, or if you're a GP and you've got someone that's coming in, you know, probably a higher intensity user, you know, behind that, there is a call for them needing more guidance to do something. And a lot of that is about engaging in physical activity and just having the signposting and really the warm embrace, the virtual warm embrace of, look, why don't you try it? You know, let's look at the barriers as to why this isn't working for you, and let's try and overcome them. You know, it takes an additional 3-4 minutes, but it could change someone's life. You know, and I say that from experience of working and having the privilege of doing so over the last 2 years with those individuals. So these are the physical activity levels in Surrey. So the orange bar shows people aged 65 plus, and the green bar is those aged 16 to 64. So this chart shows that inactivity levels are significantly increased as people age. Those classified as fairly active is similar as a percentage across both age groups, but the marked difference in the proportion of people classified as inactive, you can see that nearly a third of those people are age 65 or more in Surrey. And so over 72,000 people are doing less than 30 minutes of physical activity a week. So that's more than double of the 16 to 64s, which, you know, really are the age groups that we really want to try and increase and encourage them to do more physical activity, because they really will reap the benefits and age optimally. You know, Samur does say that we don't actually start to decline until we hit our 90s. I'm not going to go back to him in great depth, but please watch the video. It's so enlightening. And if we can get there in our 90s in good shape, you know, we should all be getting cards from whoever, the king, the queen, whoever's in position. So just moving on from this. So what are the benefits of physical activity? We all know what they are, but let's just recap as a squad together. So I love this strap line, and I've often said to Ruth, and I will get it done, I'm going to put it on a t-shirt. And I love what Chris Whitty said here, because he encapsulates everything. If physical activity were a drug, we would refer to it as a miracle cure due to the great many illnesses it can prevent and help treat. Absolutely. Spot on to Chris Whitty. So the role and benefits of physical activity. Well, it's improved self-esteem, improved cognitive functions, development of soft skills. I mean, you can see it all there. Mental well-being, physical well-being. You know, the evidence shows that the benefits of physical activity, you know, for common mental disorders are phenomenal. So in the was it Medical News Today, Ruth? I'm just trying to remember. Medical News Today, they did a really big study, an analysis of meta-studies found that essentially all forms of exercise produce significant mental health benefits, and that exercise, particularly those done in groups, should be viewed as a first choice treatment for people living with mental health issues, along with group mindfulness, CBT, counselling, etc. And this was supported by the NICE guidance for less severe depression. So according to the study's lead author, Dr. Ben Singh, physical activity is 1.5 times more effective at reducing mild to moderate symptoms of depression and psychological stress and anxiety than medication or cognitive behavioural therapy alone. So, I mean, that really is quite something. And, you know, I also speak from experience of how it elevates, you know, my mood, especially in the most sort of challenging times that, you know, life can throw at you. It's, you know, it doesn't make everything go away, but it certainly helps you to sort of stay on track and sort of be strong to face the life challenges, I find personally, and I know others have found the same. So with this physical activity infographic, this is great because it gives you some stats as to what activity does to reduce the risks of, and there's a massive one there, 68% reduction in hip fractures, up to 68%, 40% type 2 diabetes. So the take-home message on that is being more active can reduce the risk of long-term health conditions and to help people, again, live longer, better, age healthily. So the hippocampus shrinks late in adulthood, which can lead to impaired memory, and physical activity increases the hippocampus size even in older adults. So, you know, you're constantly making new sort of synapses, electrical neural pathways. If you learn something new, you know, new sort of choreographed routine, if you're doing physical activity, and that could be as simple as, you know, putting out 4 punches, 2 star jumps. It's amazing how many people get confused with just that simple format to start with. But then, you know, at the end of sort of doing that repetitively for a week, coming to two sessions a week, for example, with me, they're all on it. The brain switches up quickly. It wants to absorb it. It wants to learn something new. And these are all the ways of doing it. So type 2, I'm just going to break this down. Type 2 diabetes is largely avoidable, and it's the overarching cause of the disease brought on by poor lifestyle choices, you know, including diet. So Diabetes UK say this disease costs the NHS an eye-watering 6 billion a year. So the fact that a number of diabetics in the UK has topped 5 million and is still rising, it really is bad news for everyone, really. I mean, every week the condition is responsible for 770 strokes, 590 heart attacks, and 2,300 heart failures. And every hour a sufferer has to have a leg, foot, or toe amputated. It's terrible outcomes for individuals, and a major contributing factor to the soaring waiting list and the scarcity of, you know, GP appointments. The solution's simple. I know it sounds simple, and it is simple, but it's move more, lose weight, eat less. Has anyone heard of telomeres? I'm going to pretend that you've all gone no, because I can't see you all, or some of you have gone yes, I know what they are. But they sit at the end of strands of DNA, like the protective caps on a shoelace. And molecular biologist Elizabeth Blackburn shared a Nobel Peace Prize for her research on these telomeres, the structures at the tips of the chromosomes that play a really key role in all our cellular aging. She was super frustrated that the important health implications of her work weren't reaching beyond academia. So she, along with a psychologist, published her findings in a book aimed at us, the general audience, or the geniuses sitting amongst you. Sorry, didn't make any of you general, but I'm a general audience for sure. Laying out a scientific case that may give readers the motivation to keep their New Year's resolutions to, for instance, not smoke, eat well, sleep enough, exercise regularly, and try and cut down on some of those stressors. The main message of the telomere effect, that's the name of the book, is that you have got more control over your own aging than you could imagine. You can actually lengthen, yes, you can lengthen your telomeres and perhaps your life by following sound health advice based on the review of thousands of studies. So bear that in mind. So this is the consensus statement on risk. For the overwhelming majority of people, physical activity is safe, even for those living with symptoms from multiple medical conditions. So the benefits of physical activity for the people that you're coming across and, you know, patients, clients with long-term conditions are super well documented. Simply put, any amount of movement will be beneficial, and there's usually no need to gain permission from health professionals, provided the patients, and the key thing here, and clients, is that they start gradually. Don't run before you can crawl, to walk, to run. That's how gradual it is if they haven't engaged. However, this is often contrary to the perceptions of the individuals that you're going to be speaking to, and perhaps yourselves, many professionals feel slightly unsure about what advice they should give to people living with symptomatic medical conditions. So to help address concerns around risk, Moving Medicine have developed a consensus statement and infographic to help professionals understand what safety advice to give to people with long-term conditions in a clinical setting. So that will come out on the slides as well. So the power of healthcare professional advice, and again, speaking from my own experience, I can see how powerful it's been in my capacity, in my very small role in the small cog, and the privilege I've had of working with, you know, numerous patients throughout Epsom and Ewell and the PCN, that just giving them that bit of advice to start is so empowering and impactful for those that are on the precipice of wanting to do so, especially those. So health and care professionals are some of the most trusted sources of information about physical activity for members of the public. And they really rely on us having that knowledge and having the ability to signpost. So the key stat here is that 1 in 4 people said that they would be more active if they were advised to do so by a GP or nurse, highlighting just how much of an impact even the briefest advice can have. And a study from the BMJ showed that the impact may even be more powerful than this, with brief advice from healthcare professionals increasing the likelihood of patients meeting the guidelines by up to 33%. However, it is quite impactful to see that a large proportion of GPs don't speak about activity with patients due to a lack of knowledge or confidence, and perhaps even a bit of time. This is where we hope that things like this training today and other forms of training and sourcing, you know, things like the YouTube videos for Samuel Gray, which is available also via the Professionals Hub, which Ruth is going to talk about later on in the presentation, can help you to feel more supported and for you to feel more confident about having those conversations and having that knowledge about what to talk about. So this is going to also empower you to share more information. So what are these amazing guidelines? I know when I flip up the next screen, you're going to say, yeah, I know, but here we are. So the CMO guidelines are as follows: 150 minutes a week of moderate intensity. Don't forget, get the heart rate up, sweat a little, or 75 minutes of vigorous intensity, boxing, running, all those things that get your heart rate up. The important thing to recognize are the 3 elements that make up the physical activity guidelines. Something strengthening, so to build strength and improve balance, to keep muscles and bones and joints strong. So that doesn't necessarily have to be lifting weights in the gym or at home. You know, you can use your own body weight. You're never going to lift anything heavier than you. Your body weight is enough. and it's understanding how you can implement that, even to start at home. And Michael Mosley, he always says that he does at least 10 press-ups a day. You don't have to do them in army format in the plank. You can start on your knees. 10 press-ups a day is all that's needed to keep your strength going. He said everybody should be able to do that throughout their life. If you haven't done it, try it. If you only get to 1, that's fine, because tomorrow you're going to get to 2 press-ups. And eventually you are going to be doing it army style into 10 press-ups. So it's important that that strengthening happens, because the bone density starts declining at 50. And for us ladies, that change thing that happens as well, you know, the catalyst to making it even weaker for osteoarthritis and things like that. Cardiovascular activity, be active, including moderate, vigorous, and very, very activity. So that's the cardio side that we need to implement, and minimize sedentary time. So how long have we been doing this, Ruth? Are we 20 minutes, half an hour in?
We're 35 minutes in, so we probably should get
everybody stand. I'm
yeah.
going to stand. God, I haven't got my pajamas on. No, I haven't. I'm good. Got my shirt on. So let's just move a bit. Make sure I should show my face. I am standing. Push your hands up. Get the blood pumping. Wiggle the hips. Make them nice and loose. Lift one knee. Lift the other. Shake it. Job done. Sit down. We had a bit of a stand, but really we should be doing that for 5 minutes and then get back to sitting. Because like a fine bottle of wine, Ruth, you like this one. If we don't move, all the sediments in the fine bottle of wine, so you've got the fine bottle of wine on its side, and all the sediments start coming down and sitting at the bottom of the wine bottle. And that's our arteries and our veins, and that's the plaque building right there and closing the potential blood flow passing through from the heart and around all the organs. But if we get up and shake it, and that nasty plaque can't sit there, and we are free of that plaque building. So it's important that we get up and move around. So today we're going to be looking specifically at, you know, sort of the infographics that we can get hold of. Ruth is going to talk to you more about how this can all be found on the most amazing resource that you'll have at your fingertips, the Professionals Hub, that Ruth is champion of, and is also adding to it constantly, has a team that works around implementing the latest information that we can access for specific long-term conditions, etc. But I'll leave that all to Ruth. I'm just very excited about it because it's great. But you can see here that there are guidelines from the Chief Medical Officer for different groups of adults as well as children. They're summarized in infographic format, and the recommendations across the adult population groups are very similar to AIM, to accumulate 150 minutes muscle strengthening and starting gradually. So that's going to be available through the hub. So this is also, you can also hand this out as a sheet if you need them to be handed out to maybe some older clients or patients in the community, if they're, you know, not too tech confident. But a lot of these are interactive leaflets, so you can click on specific tiles, but again, the hub will show you more of that. So strengthening, we've already touched on this. We've got to build and improve balance to keep muscles and bones strong, do our cardiovascular activity as well. That's even fast walking. I mean, do you remember way back when in the 80s when you used to see them doing the power walking? You know, they would have this wiggle on, wouldn't they? But that's such a good walk. I mean, just power walk, you will bring up a sweat and you'll get your heart rate up. You don't need to run. And that's a step to running if you haven't done it before. So again, just to reiterate, 150 minutes per week of moderate activity, 75 minutes per week. And that week, it's 7 days. 7 days, it's not in the working week. So it's nothing out of your time, 20, 30 minutes every day to live longer, better, and to be the best you can be for yourself. There are so many other people in your life that probably rely on you to be the best that you can be. And by showing them that that is important and to be around longer, better for them, then that's what you need to do. 30 minutes, it's nothing. So bone strengthening, balance to develop. So strength and balance is really important. So we are at different stages in our life. So muscle and bone strengthening and balance activities are important across our entire lifespan for these different reasons. So we need to develop the strength and build healthy bones during childhood and young adulthood. We then need to maintain that strength in adulthood, and we need to delay the natural decline in the muscle mass and bone density that occurs, as I said earlier, from around 50 years of age. So we need to maintain that function later in life. There's things called the Otago exercise. That's a series of 17 strength and balance exercise delivered by physical therapists, and it reduces the falls between 35 and 40%. Again, you can find out more about this online for some of the people that are starting and need to sort of get into physical activity. So some of those examples would be the heel to toe walking forwards 10 steps and heel to toe walking backwards 10. There's just some examples of what Otago exercises are to really see what your physicality is at the moment. So on here, evidence suggests that muscle strength, bone strength, and balance ability increase in childhood. They peak in early adulthood, and eventually they're followed by a decline. But aging better health across the life course can reduce disease, disability, and old age. And this graph here shows the difference between two people's functional capacity and how this affects their aging process. So you can see on the green line, by maintaining a greater level of strength and balance, we maintain and prolong our quality of life and slow the rate of decline compared to the orange line. Blue, I'm colorblind. That's blue, right? The blue line. Avoiding poor health. So as we get older, that's so important to get healthier by being more physically active to avoid that poor health. We're able to stay independent for longer and age healthily. So the importance here is that I think no matter where we start, as soon as we can start doing something, this line changes. So for those that start working out or doing something more physically demanding of their bodies on a daily basis, that they see the quickest response rate, especially from having done nothing. They will see changes quicker and an improvement in their health. So, and actually that's more displayed in a graph that's coming up in a moment. But overall, we keep touching on this. We've got to minimize our sedentary time. And again, I mean, look at this. So I work for at least, not now, so don't hold me to it, I don't sound, but generally I stand for at least 3 hours a day with my laptop at a worktop because I'm fortunate enough to be able to do that. And this equates to probably 2 years extra life. But the best bit for me, this is what gets my boat going. 30,000 calories burnt a year just by standing those 3 hours a day if you can, working at your laptop, move from foot to foot. So every time you do 20 steps, you burn 1 calorie. That's not bad. And you use 100 muscles, 100 of your lovely muscles just to stand up. So sitting less is important, and that is really achievable for everyone. It's important to remember that limiting your sitting time is one of the independent risk factors to our health. So watching TV for long periods, sitting down, even working at your laptop for, just standing up for 1 minute can have the most positive effect and start to burn calories. So do remember to factor that into your working day and encourage your patients and clients to do the same. So standing up for an extra 3 hours every day, Monday to Friday, every week, as I said, would burn over 30,000 calories a year. And that's equivalent to the same amount you'd burn if you ran 10 marathons. Yes, you heard it here, 10 marathons. So it really is a motivator, guys. This was the slide I was sort of talking about more. This is the area of highest impact for someone who's done nothing to doing something. So every minute and every movement does count, but the graph shows the rate at which health benefits can be gained for every extra minute of weekly physical activity. And you can see that the steepest rate of increase in benefits is up to those who do the 150 minutes, which means people who are inactive have the most to gain because even a little helps a lot. So these again can be accumulated throughout the week, the 7 days. Taking the stairs instead of the lift, walking a small section to work and, parking further away if you can. All these little things add up. Leave things upstairs if you've got stairs, deliberately. I deliberately leave things upstairs so that I have to come back up twice to get them. It's another good one. So barriers and top tips. So these are some of the barriers that we've all come across and continue to come across. So what are the common barriers that you've come across? I mean, if anyone wants to put some in the chat, just put some of the words that sort of come into mind as to what you hear. I mean, I've heard things like money, time, motivation, tiredness. So put some in the chat for some of the barriers that you hear, and be honest, what are your barriers? Stick them in the chat. I don't need to know whether they're yours or whether they're someone else's, but these are some of the common barriers. Sound familiar? Yeah, I bet they do. So the key 4 barriers to being active are physical, lack of time or space, or feeling tired and having low energy; social, what others will think, especially if you turn up to a gym and it's, you know, sometimes even a hostile ground or an unfamiliar ground to what you know you've never been before. So, you know, you think that people are looking at you. Psychological, low motivation, and the technical know-how. What, you know, what do I do? I'm not sure how this machine works. So, you know, even though that these have been expressed in discussions, and we understand that lots of people face different barriers, these are the 4 main ones, and we're going to look at how we can overcome some of those. So these are the barriers across the population. So if we were just to pick one, let's go with older people, because I work with a lot of those, and I'm getting there myself, clearly. Older people, social isolation, they worry about risk of falling and injury. They worry about their existing health conditions, and you know, sort of inactive habits. So again, you can see there's what is more prevalent for the different sections and cohorts of the population. So everyone's different, and therefore they'll all have different barriers. So have a look at this slide in a bit more detail when you come to it.
Isabel, and just
oh, sorry, should I go back?
Okay, yeah, it's almost just putting the chat around kind of family responsibilities, especially for women, and I think that's a really good one, and yeah,
Yes,
it's worth touching on.
absolutely. It's one of the key ones. So overcoming those barriers, we know that costs, that's one of the key ones, but there are lots of free or low cost activities, such as, you know, playing in the park, trying something new, like some of the park tennis courts offer a free 30-minute sort of taster, if you like, for 6 or 7 sessions. So those are the park tennis courts, and there's one here in Ashstead that does that. You know, if you've got access to social media, or you've got nice neighbours that you haven't quite engaged with, and you feel like you'd like to try this long walk in the evening with somebody, you know, find someone to do it with, or join one of the many rambler groups which are free and throughout Surrey. I know you've got family commitments. We've all got those. Our clients have got those, you know, patients have got those, but being active together can also form bonds, something that people don't sort of think of. They sort of think, well, I need to get active, and, you know, someone in the family is already active, they don't need it. But, you know, you can lean on them a bit more for activity. And I'm sure, you know, most families, it would be nice if someone reached out to, say, a younger member of their family who is a bit more active and said, look, I really want to try harder and be, you know, a bit more active. Would you help me for a month? And, you know, a lot of them do. It's just that they've never even thought of being asked. We are undefeatable. We're going to touch on that. An amazing website that shows lots of individuals and their personal stories with their long-term conditions and what they do to remain active and how it's helped them. Obviously, find something that suits your ability, and you know, age is a factor for some, in terms of if they're just getting into it, then they might find some of the things a little bit more daunting and worry about, you know, their frailty. But again, it comes into play, like we've said before, you crawl, you walk, and then you run, and all of that takes time. But just have the confidence to find a group or a chair-based exercise that just starts you off, because you soon move off of that. Don't know any facilities. Lots of boroughs have got their own leisure centres. Connect to Support Surrey, they're a brilliant resource. They list lots of activities that either, you know, you can put in the search bar, you know, it needs to be free or it needs to cost under a tenner. They'll help you out. They're all over Surrey in terms of what's available. Lacking confidence, start with something easy. obviously like something, a beginner class to build up your confidence. And loneliness, so joining a new group, and I've had this throughout my courses, you know, that like the camaraderie that's built and the friendships is amazing. And I get to see all these, you know, new friends being made, and how they've gone off to the garden centre at the weekend and they're doing their garden together as well as another form of activity, and they've met at my group, so that, you know, it's really heartwarming. So top tips for getting active, we kind of touched on some of those, but obviously choose something you love and enjoy. You know, it could be something like, I mean, I used to row many years ago, and I've now found out they've got a senior squad at Weybridge, a very senior squad actually, that I'd like to take part again and have a go. I mean, that's something that I probably will struggle with because it's a very intense sport, but I want to give it a go, and I want to try it in a group of, you know, abled individuals, some of whom have never rowed, so I've got a little bit of an advantage. So that's something that I enjoy. I want to set goals and plans, always set a goal and plan. Again, I've worked with many individuals who, for some, it's been really important, like if they've got a daughter or a son perhaps coming up and it's their wedding in 6 months' time, and they want to look really lovely in the outfit and so that the photos look nice, that's important to them. And so that sets a goal, and we make a plan of how we get there and what their target is. You know, if they want to lose weight, or they want to stand up for longer because they want to have a dance, all these things are important. So we make small changes to make the plan work, and we build new habits into their daily routine. Obviously, getting outdoors in the winter can be a barrier. That's another one: wet, windy, rainy, cold. But as soon as the weather picks up, I mean, Surrey's just covered with amazing pathways and walks that suit a lot. And there are smooth pathways for those that are worried about tripping over, or they need to use, you know, a walking aid. There are plenty of those available for people to get out and walk in for free. Start slow, build up, pace yourself, and buddy up. Those are the key generic tips. You know, and try things like, there's things online that you can try if you don't want to start going out, you know, and again, we'll get to that, but you can do seated exercises at home. They're all free, and there's plenty of websites that you can engage with. So the more you repeat it, it takes 90 days to make a habit, they say, and 90 days to break a habit. Well, you're trying to do both, aren't you? You're making a new habit to break an old habit. So it's 90 days all in, change, keep on driving that train, because you only get one ticket to ride. So use it well. Ways to move at home. I think we touched on this a bit earlier, but if you are going to start going walking, I can't emphasize enough just investing in some good footwear, because we are reliant on our feet. The feet do a lot for us, and if we treat them well, they'll last a lot longer and they'll be more comfortable. And having secondary problems, sort of, you know, having bad footwear causes secondary problems, you know, calf aches, etc. So do invest in some good walking shoes. If you don't want to get some weights because you're not sure what you're going to do, if that's going to be something that's going to, you do need to do the weights, but whether it's body weight or dumbbell weights, you can always use, I mean, I use, sometimes I've shown clients and patients how to use, you know, the fabric bottles with the big side handle. So you can fill that up with as much water as you want to make it heavy. And actually that's quite a good thing to hold with the handle, and you can lift it like a dumbbell come kettlebell. So empty the water if it's too heavy, or fill it up if you need to, you know, sort of increase the intensity. But with the handle in that conditioner bottle, you can also press it up like a kettlebell, and you can do that in your chair when you're watching Midsummer Murders, if that's your thing. So you're not sitting there for ages doing nothing. So when the kettle's boiling, we've touched on it before, you can do heel raises or squats, brilliant squats. Learn to do those correctly. Bum back, straight back, weight in heels, chest up. There's your perfect squat. And that also helps with your balance. And just, you know, make sure that you get up in the breaks when you're watching TV. If you're watching TV with breaks in it, don't sit for a long time. So these are all the things to get moving at home, and go up the stairs more if you've got them. Walk around the garden if you've got one. So we're going to hit into some scenarios here of some of the questions that we might come across, or, you know, sort of to help improve our pitter patter. I know we all know how to talk to all these people. We've been doing it for years. We have life experience, but it's just a nice, gentle reminder. So I'm going to set the scene here. So it's about how to best support others, everyday conversations with people that we meet, asking open-ended questions, active listening, encouraging, supporting, and signposting. So one of the key things we can do is really encourage others to enable them and empower them. So our support does matter. And I think one of the important things we need to recognize is that we need to be asking those questions more about how and what they would like to do. And instead of it making it sort of, well, you should be doing this, which we're going to see, you're going to sort of change that technique a little bit as to how we approach them into engaging into physical activity and that behavioral change. So let's go for this scenario. It's going to be, is there a poll on this one, Ruth?
Yeah, I'll pop a poll up, yeah.
Okay, cool. So again, get ready, fingers to the buzzers, here we go. So you're having a lovely chat with Natalie. She's a regular visitor to the library. She's 71 years old and she lives alone. She mentions that she's now sitting down for much of the day. What you could say is option one, have you been doing anything to stay active at home? Why aren't you doing any activities at home? Or option three, how are you managing to staying active? Fingers to the buzzers.
Yeah, just give it a couple more seconds.
Yeah. So it's important to, there's no that's a wrong answer. It's just about honing the technique.
Right, and you can see here that everybody picked the third option, which is how are you managing to stay active?
Because they're all pros. They're all pros. Amazing. So yes, this is that open-ended question. And it's the way to start, it's your prompt, it's the way to start that conversation, because you've got a plan now of how to deal with this and Natalie to get her moving more. So we're going to do another one. Natalie says that she's struggling. She used to go out walking lots with friends, but unfortunately that's all stopped for her now, and her friends are doing online classes. What could you say? I really enjoy my online classes. Why don't you give that a try? It sounds like you used to enjoy your walks. How would you like to be active now? Could you start going for short walks again?
Yeah, great. And again, I'll just give it a couple more seconds in case anyone else would like to fill that in. Okay, and I'll just share those results. So again, everyone's gone for the middle option, which is, it sounds like you used to enjoy your walks. How would you like to be active? So great stuff.
Yes, very good. So let me just change the slide here. Yes, because you actively listened, you picked up on that change and you followed it with an open question. So it's not advice giving, but you're cultivating more here as we progress onto our final scenario, our slide here. So then Natalie says she's not sure what she can do at home. She doesn't have a computer and she mentions maybe getting back in the garden. So you could say, I have a free resource pack that may be useful. Would you like to see it? Gardening sounds great. What's the first thing you do to get started? And you should be aiming to be active every day if you can. Fingers to the buzzers.
Okay. Great. And again, we have this is the first time in all the trainings that we've done that we've had everybody answer the same question, which is awesome. So yep, everyone's gone for option number 2.
That's lovely. So option number 2 is awesome, but this is also the prime opportunity because you've got those resources now that you're seeing Natalie, because you've either planned to go and see Natalie to talk about being physically active, or, Natalie's coming in to see you. So you're kind of prepared and you've got those important resources, which we're all going to show you. Ruth and I are going to show you where to get those from. And so now this is the permission question. You're going to hand over that resource and then you've supported and encouraged about next steps. Awesome. So yeah, so you weren't judgmental. You didn't try to come up with your own solutions and you didn't tell someone what to do, more importantly. So you all knew the way forward and cultivated a great conversation with lovely Natalie. Well done. So remember, got this chart, I say it every time, this has been milling about since the 80s. I've probably seen it 200 times in various roles, but it's a great sort of graphic as to what success looks like, because we never start very rarely do we start and go, that's it, I got from A to B successfully. What it really looks like is stop, start, failed attempts, and getting there eventually. And that's what most people endure. And there's nothing wrong with that, because the outcome and the true reality of that is if you do stop, start, you know, the mentality is there to implement this into your life and have that change, and the success will last longer, because it wasn't easy getting there. So, you know, it's like giving up smoking or losing weight. It's a wiggly line because it's a journey, and you will get there in the end. Same, you know, like engaging in physical activity. How are we doing on time, Ruth?
We've got 15 minutes left, so we'll have to skip through this section pretty quickly.
National signposting. Use the NHS fitness studio. Amazing. Not enough of us know about this. I'm amazed at lots of colleagues that don't know about this, but there's lots of short videos on here. There's a trusted source of information, and it includes seated exercises and for specific long-term conditions. Do check that out. Again, it'll be in the slides. Touched on this earlier. We Are Undefeatable. It's a joint campaign with Sport England. Personal stories, ideas, YouTube video playlists from the partners, and an activity planner, posters, leaflets, 5 and 5. It's completely customizable mini workout to help you move in whatever way works for you. So doing 5 and 5 is simple. Choose 5 exercises from the activity library, do each one for 1 minute, adding up to a 5-minute mini workout. So that's worth looking into. Some of these individuals on here are amazing. Please look at their stories. I mean, they're really moving and encouraging, and they would really support someone with equally long-term conditions. So if you were to click on John when you go onto the website for the Undefeatables, John's got Parkinson's. He's doing walking football. That's something he really enjoyed. He didn't want to give it back up. His symptoms were really hard to accept. Football became a saving grace of sorts, and helping to find moving easier and to connect with others living with health conditions. So Geraldo, he's got a heart condition and prostate cancer. He's found that Pilates has helped him strengthen, you know, his body, and he also likes, you know, works moving more and on his daily activity and walking and cycling and chatting with people he meets along the way. Mina's got arthritis, so she's swimming to improve her energy levels. And Julie and Peter, they come as a duo because Julie's got Alzheimer's, so they talk about, you know, their path to success with physical activity, and how dancing has really helped for, you know, who's got a background in dancing, Julie as well. So do click on those, they're really worthwhile. Age UK, the national website, being active, lots of ideas on there, activity finders, healthy downloadable PDFs, apps. We've heard of these, the Couch to 5, Active 10, they're free, available on the phones. They're downloaded over 1 million times in the first 6 months of the pandemic. So, you know, people do want to engage. Local signposting. So this one, amazing, Connect to Surrey, is basically a simple search for a key term, i.e. a type of activity or even a broad category. Find the variety of options that are available and within the communities. This is something that's always being updated and added to, so make sure you keep an eye on it. It's available to everyone. Ruth, the pièce de résistance.
Thank you. Well, I'm just going to share my screen. Just wanted to show you our Professionals Hub, which is situated in the Active Surrey website. So I will just quickly share my screen now. So basically, can you see that come up now?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, the reason we created the Health Resource Hub was because we're obviously aware that there's so many physical activity resources around, and you know, whether you're a professional or a volunteer, you're, you know, really short on time. So we wanted to basically to pull all physical activity resources into one place to make it really quick and easy for you to either provide a resource or to gain some insight in terms of how best to have a conversation with someone that you're supporting. So the hub's been live for about a year, and we've literally just done a bit of a refresh of it in the last couple of weeks. So we've added some kind of navigations down the side, but we're on the homepage at the moment. And the key thing I suppose to mention here is that the hub is kind of broken down by who it is that you're looking to support. And on the homepage here, you can also see all of the physical activity guidelines that Isabel showed earlier. So these can be downloaded from here. So I'll just pop into just a couple of the pages just so you can have a look. So if we go into the long-term health conditions page here, you can see we've actually picked out 12 long-term health conditions, and we've tried to bring together all of the physical activity resources that exist. So if we go to mental health, because it's actually Mental Health Awareness Week next week, and the theme for Mental Health Awareness Week 2024 is movement, which is great. So as an example in here, you can see we've pulled together, you know, from a lot of the key health charities, because they have physical activity coordinators and fantastic resources. So we've pulled together some links here to exercise ideas for people living with mental health conditions. There's downloadable resources which can be printed off and shared with your patients and clients. There's the Moving Medicine Conversation Guide in terms of how to initiate a conversation, specifically around how physical activity and movement can help manage mental health conditions. There's a specific e-learning module. There's training and guidance for exercise professionals on how to ensure that the sessions that they're putting on are inclusive for people living with mental health conditions. And then there's those ever important stories from We Are Undefeatable that Isabel mentioned. So we've got that sort of information for 12 key long-term health conditions. What we also have in here is that consensus statement around risk. So again, if you wanted to have that to hand to share with a patient or client who is concerned about the risks involved in becoming more physically active, then you can find that there. In the more prevention page of the website, we've got lots of posters, which again, you could pop up if you're in a GP practice or if you're in a community centre. If you're going out to into a home visit with someone that you're supporting, there's some great posters that can either be printed off or kind of versions for digital screens as well. And we've got signposting documents further down the page here, which you can click on, a PDF, which you can download, and it's got links to the NHS Fitness Studio, We Are Undefeatable, all of those different national and local resources that Isabel mentioned earlier on. Then in the older people's page here, again, we have a whole host of resources. So we have just developed a new Falls checklist with Surrey Downs Health and Care, which isn't physical activity specific, but it's a great checklist to hand out to people to make sure that they are keeping safe in their home and all of those kind of areas of their life where they can have some impact to reduce their risk of falling. And we've got, you know, Isabel mentioned earlier that strength and balance is particularly important later on in the life course. So we have a foolproof strength and balance plan, which can be handed out for people to do some exercises in their home. And we've actually we're just doing some work with Surrey Fire and Rescue, who are going to be handing these resources out in all of their home visits. So, so this is the older person's page. There's also the training and e-learning page where you could go into book onto any further training. If you wanted to book a customized version of the training that we've given today, you know, with your team, then you can do that through this page. And I've just seen we've had a question in the chat about exercise on referral schemes. So that's not something that we are including at the moment. It's something that we would like to add into the hub. We're just doing some mapping at the moment to try and look at all of the different exercise referral schemes across the county. But that's something that will be coming into the hub in due course, and we'll let you know when that's available.
Although Ruth, Connect to Surrey do that.
Yes, they do. Yeah, they do that in parts. But again, Connect to Support Surrey is basically, it's only as good as the information that's put in there. So, and obviously that sort of comes with time. So please do take time to have a look in here, bookmark the page, and we always love to hear feedback. If you've come in here for something and you can't find it, then do tell us and we can work to fill that gap. So I'm going to stop sharing this and go back to the last couple of slides of the presentation just for Isabel to do a quick recap. So back over to you.
Thank you so much. So look, this is what we've covered, which we said we were going to do at the start, right? So the definitions and the benefits of physical activity, the National Physical Activity Guidelines. We did some scenarios, practical tips and common barriers, especially for those we touched on in Surrey, positive conversation skills, and the all-important signposting and resources. So at this stage, I mean, either in the chat or straight out, has anyone got any questions? Okay, Ruth, should we do the last poll? You're on mute, Ruth. I think you're talking to me. Yeah, so older adults, we all know, we're just touching on it again, they need to do some aerobic activity, and they also need to do that muscle strength the balance is really important. So I run these physical activity courses I mentioned earlier. They're free, they're 12 weeks, twice a week, for groups of 20. And one of the key things, you know, at the moment, they're just covering sort of Ashtead and the surrounding areas, but they'll be moving out further. It's with my CIC, which Ruth and Active Surrey were great to put me in touch with a bid manager to get some lotto funding for that, which I was successful, which is great. So that's better health, mind and body. But this is one of the key things that I talk about with the guys and girls that come to the session. The balance is important to being able to actively live well, because if we're struggling to maintain the balance, then doing other things off the back of that can be difficult. So these are the key things they need to be sort of considering and engaging with more. So we need to promote for ourselves as well. I keep saying that because I know some of us can do better too, that, you know, that being physically active on a daily basis is the long-term ticket to healthy aging, and it's got a major role in improving all our qualities of life and our cognitive health as well, and reducing potentially long-term conditions and disability, and the less time we spend in poorer health. So select the appropriate physical activity, and that increases gradually in a safe manner, and that provides the health benefits for people as they age. So we're all able to retain our functional independence if we engage in physical activity. So the next steps are everybody, me, you, your loved ones, make an activity goal for yourself, buy into it so you can promote it. Then think about how you're going to talk to someone this week off sort of having these scenarios played out to you today about being active, and how you can support yourself, your family and your colleagues, and find out your next steps as to find out about further training or resources. So we're going to go back to those two quick questions that we had at the start of the session today. I'm going to ask you to go to the fingers to the buzzers again. Same two questions, just to repeat those on a scale of what? So there's two questions, everyone. On a scale, I can't see the questions now, Ruth, but I'm sure everybody can read them because the polls come up. So I'll just let you answer those.
So the first one is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is having conversations about being active with others to you? And the second one is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you in having those conversations? And it's lovely to see the numbers have really gone up, which is great. So thank you so much for your active participation. So again, you can hopefully see the polls here that we've got people either at 9 and 10, and on that confidence, again, that's gone right up to 8, 9 and 10, which is brilliant. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. Well done. And then off the back of this slide, Ruth, if everybody would, if they can, scan this QR code and be good enough to just do the feedback, the survey now, because that really helps us sort of, you know, structure and improve on our delivery of these courses, which, you know, hopefully benefits everyone that's taking part. And we want everybody to walk away from today's session with a plan and, you know, with the motivation to do something for themselves and for others, how they can implement that into their working days. So if you wouldn't mind just scanning that now and start filling in the survey, we'd be super grateful. But in the meantime,